suppose that the first part is understanding what drove you to writing the book, understanding your background a little bit. You touched on, your background in oil and gas, extensive background. Um, what was the drivers? What have you seen? How hard has it been for you as a woman in STEM to make that successful career? And what are we doing wrong? Where do we start with this conversation? I suppose it's a big one. Sorry, just throw a massive question in the beginning.
I mean, in terms of where I started, I mean, I'm originally from Aberdeen in Scotland, and I really enjoyed maths and computing at school, and it was my tech studies teacher that said to me, why don't you study he said, why don't you study engineering? Because the principles of engineering never change. Because I was wanting to go into software. So I found a happy medium and did electronic and electrical, specializing in computer engineering at the Robert Gordon University. So that was great. I didn't think it was strange that I was one of very few women. I just thought, well, this is what I'm interested in. Whereas if you look at other subjects, either they're more balanced or there's more women in them. I was never into sports. Still am not into sports. Not into art, or I'm a terrible drawer or anything like that. It's just not my thing. So, for me, it was just different strokes for different folks. I didn't think there was anything special about it. It was just what I was interested in. But it was when I joined the workforce, what I know now is that I was experiencing microaggressions. I didn't even know the word then. It would take another 10 years for me to even hear that term. But when I was 22, my honours project that I had done for this company, which then I went to take up full-time employment with, I had a paper published. And I was really excited, 22-year-old, a paper published in Australia, New Zealand, and various places around the globe. And the guy I was working for went, yeah, you don't really say anything in it. And I just went, okay. And I remember the conversation to the day because it was like, why did he say that? Then I switched companies. I went to work for another place later because what I was employed to do, there wasn't a lot of work for that. So I ended up doing IT, and I wanted to do more than IT. So I went to this other company that said they would teach me how all the offshore rotating machinery worked, because that was what I was interested in, the condition monitoring of rotating machinery, looking at statistical modeling analysis. So looking at the trends to see when things are all going up or down and so on. And that I found really interesting. But when I got there, again, very rapidly, I ended up doing IT. And, getting what do we even call it? Getting all the setup for a DSL line and everything in there. So I was calling OpenReach and so on. And I was thinking, this is not what I was hired to do. This was not. Yeah. So when I asked them about it, they said, oh, if you want to learn all about equipment, it's going to take you 40 years. And by the way, you need to go back to university and do a degree in chemical engineering, because IT is all you can do with a master's in electronic and electrical engineering. So I smile now because they actually said that to me. So I was working for a guy who very openly said women belong in the kitchen and in the home. And a little while after that, there were a few things that all happened at once, and I spoke up about it, and they terminated my contract. So I had been there for 9 months, and then that was the end of that. And I didn't even know what to do about it. I also knew the law didn't protect you when you haven't been there for over a certain period of time, regardless of what the reason was. So I started over in 2009, and this was definitely a shifting point, because I took a graduate role for working for a company where they turned me into a subsea engineer. And like I say, so in this time, I've experienced negative behaviors, but this was some very positive behaviors, especially when I look back on it, because I was this unknown quantity come into this company, and my manager trusted me. He came to my desk one day, and I'd only been there for maybe 2 months, and he put this procedure down, and he said, Lauren, we don't have any inspectors for this job. Go down to Hartlepool, go and witness this qualification testing, and then come back and tell us what happens. So I went, okay. So I take this procedure, I go down to site, overalls on, everything, and I come back, and then obviously that sort of proved I was trustworthy because then it kept happening. I witnessed everything on this power cable from qualification testing to manufacture, the layup, the problems that we had, so some of the rework, load out to the vessel, and then I actually went offshore with the vessel to install it. And so that was my first offshore trip. And it all happened because this guy trusted me. And he took a chance. So, it was really great. And then after that, I went on to another project. Instead of it being power cables, it was umbilicals. So we go and put tubes in there as well. And I did that for about 5 years. Changed companies a couple of times in the middle. And then eventually 2014 went out to Azerbaijan for 5 years. And then I was managing all the subsea kit. So as soon as it came into country, it was mine to work with the suppliers to make sure So as soon as it came into country, it was my job to work with the suppliers to do the site receipt testing, mobilization checks, making sure it was ready for installation either by the rig or by the vessels. And then also working with the suppliers for life of field maintenance checks as time went on. So it was great. I just felt like my career just soared from that point. But back to your question about how did I end up coming to looking more in the bias D&I space? Azerbaijan really opened my eyes to this because it's a lot more blatant than you'll see in some other places, where I would speak to women and they would tell me that just keep your head down, do a good job, you're 9 to 5, and you will get promoted and noticed and so on. And I went, that's not how this works. And I noticed it wasn't just women, it was men that thought similar. But the Azerbaijani women, I noticed when they would speak in meetings, if a man overtalked them, they wouldn't say anything anymore. Because their culture is very, very hierarchical. When a friend of mine went offshore, she couldn't drop her clothes off at the laundry because to get to the laundry bit, you had to walk through the male changing room. So she would have to ask a guy to go and do that for her. Little things like that. Like I say, I noticed when I first went offshore not the vessel, the first platform I went to, there wasn't a toilet I could use. And apparently it became a medical issue that the medic had to get involved. And they decided that I could use the toilet where the cleaner was at the top of the helideck, whereas I was working at the hang-off where we were pulling the cables in. So anytime I went to go to the bathroom, up and down the stairs. But one of my suppliers, two guys who were both on the same shift, they were from Norway. Mm-hmm. And when I told them what was going on, they just went, Lauren, use our cabin anytime you need. And that's what I talk about when people say, I know allyship gets thrown around a lot lately. Yeah. But that's what that is. I had gloves that didn't fit me properly. And they just went, come with us to their container. And then they just gave me a few to try on. And then when I got one that fit, they went, okay, and then gave me 3 pairs. Yeah. And it was nothing to them. But then it was nice. I actually had gloves that fit me.
Yeah. These. It's almost. I don't know whether it's frustrating, heartbreaking. I don't know what the word is, but it's when it's simple, sheer common sense, and just teamwork, partnership, understanding that we're all pulling in the same direction, and there should be nothing that gets in the way of that is other than we all are here to do the job. Let's do it and do it as well, and how can we help each other to do what we're all here to do.